Story 1. The Blackwood Mystery. In North America, there are places you should never enter alone, forests that hide more secrets than they seem. In these places, people vanish without a trace. Some are found years later, if they're found at all, and sometimes only strange clues remain. Neatly folded clothes on a tree stump, shoes without a single scratch, or notes with eerie words that even experts can't explain. One such forest is Blackwood National Park in Oregon, a common destination for tourists, hikers, and explorers. But since 1973, over 200 people have disappeared here. The official explanations: wild animal attacks, accidents, getting lost. But there's one problem. None of those who vanished ever called for help. Their bodies were never found near their camps, and their footprints ended in the middle of the forest. What happened to these people, and what did they see in their final moments before disappearing? The first recorded cases date back to 1973. That year, a group of college students from Salem vanished. There were 3 of them: Brian, Kevin, and Sarah. They set off on a 2-day hiking trip, but never returned home. When rescuers found their campsite, the tents were neatly set up, backpacks remained in place, and even the campfire was still smoldering. But the students themselves were gone. The police began searching the area. The footprints of all 3 led deeper into the forest, but after 200 meters, they just stopped. No signs of struggle, no blood, no clues as to what had happened. But they did find something strange on a nearby tree: long scratches resembling claw marks. Experts couldn't determine what kind of animal had left them. The bodies of the students were never found. After those events, disappearances in Blackwood became a regular occurrence. Tourists, hunters, fishermen, people vanished even near well-traveled paths. But sometimes, something was found. One of the strangest cases happened in 1994. Rescuers discovered a jacket belonging to a missing hiker, John Henderson. It was neatly folded on a tree stump, but the most terrifying detail? Inside the pocket, there was a notebook. The last entry read, "I hear her. She's following me. I tried to leave, but the forest won't let me go. If someone finds this, tell my family I love them. And please, do not look into her eyes." Below the message was something resembling a drawing. 2 enormous black dots like eyes, but that wasn't even the most chilling part. 2 days later, his shoes were found, perfectly clean, no dirt, no scuffs, placed neatly, as if someone had positioned them on purpose. John Henderson was never found. The only person to return from the forest alive was 27-year-old traveler Alex Watson. He disappeared in 2011, but emerged 3 days later in the nearest town. But what was strange, he had no memory of what had happened to him. He recalled walking along the trail, seeing strange trees with twisted branches, and then nothing. The next thing he knew, he was in town, without his backpack, without his phone, and his boots, they looked as if he had never walked through the forest at all, as if he had been standing in one place the entire time. Psychologists tried to uncover what he had experienced, but Alex kept repeating the same thing. "She doesn't let go until you close your eyes." Who is she? The forest? A creature? Or something beyond explanation? Blackwood National Park remains open to tourists. The disappearances continue, but there are a few strange patterns. Every missing person reported hearing strange sounds before vanishing. At the sites of disappearances, trees with deep claw-like scratches were found. In many cases, only their shoes were left behind, neatly placed, as if someone had deliberately removed them. What is happening in this forest? A predator? Something supernatural? Or something beyond human understanding? We don't know. But if you ever find yourself in Blackwood, and you hear someone calling your name, don't answer. Story 2. How random finds expose hidden crimes. Some crimes remain unsolved for decades. Evidence is destroyed, witnesses stay silent, and the guilty walk free, convinced they've escaped justice. But sometimes, the unexpected happens. A simple coincidence, a dusty suitcase in an attic, a strange discovery in the woods, a box of old film reels, and the truth comes to light. In this episode, we'll tell you about crimes that were meant to stay buried, but they were uncovered, completely by accident. It happened in 2013 in a small town in Indiana. A young couple, James and Lauren, bought an old house, hoping to turn it into a cozy home. They knew the house had been abandoned for nearly 30 years, but they had no idea that inside it concealed a horrifying secret. On their very first day, while inspecting the attic, James stumbled upon an old wardrobe. It looked unusual, massive, almost as if it was built into the wall. When he tried to move it, he realized it was much heavier than it should have been. After several attempts, James finally managed to shift it aside and froze. Behind the wardrobe was a door, locked from the inside. They called the police, who forced it open. What they found inside shocked everyone. It was a small, dust-covered room with nothing but a single table and chair. On the table sat candles, a few yellowed photographs, and a diary. But the most horrifying part? In the corner of the room lay human bones. Forensic experts confirmed that the remains belonged to a woman who had died over 30 years ago. The diary's entries spoke of someone referred to as Father. It described a person being kept inside the room, and the last entry was chilling. I hear his footsteps. He said, "Today is my last day. If someone finds this, stay out of his house." DNA testing revealed that the bones belonged to a woman who had gone missing in 1982. She had been on the missing persons list for decades, and the police had never been able to locate her body. And the former owner of the house? He died a year before the discovery, before the police could reach him. In 1998, fishermen in Georgia discovered a suitcase wedged among driftwood on the riverbank. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, worn by time, slightly battered. But when one of the men tried to open it, he realized it was locked from the inside. They called the police, and soon forensic experts pried it open. Inside was something horrifying. A human skeleton wrapped in plastic, and next to it, several children's toys. Experts identified the remains as belonging to a woman who had gone missing in 1975. She had been the subject of a nearly 25-year-long search. But the most chilling discovery was what else was inside the suitcase. An audio cassette, and on it, a voice recording. "If you found this, it means I was wrong. He said no one would ever find me. He said I would stay here forever." The voice belonged to the victim. But who was he? The police spent years searching for the culprit, and 3 years later, they uncovered the truth. The woman had been the mistress of a wealthy local businessman. He had died in the 1980s, but before his death, he confessed to someone, "I hid her where no one would ever find her." But the river refused to let the secret stay buried. In 2007, a strange discovery was made in a small roadside motel in Nevada. A housekeeper, while cleaning room 643, noticed that one of the paintings was slightly crooked. As she reached out to straighten it, she accidentally shifted the frame and uncovered a hole in the wall. Inside, hidden within the wall, was a Polaroid photo. The image showed a woman with terrified eyes, her mouth sealed with duct tape. On the back, a chilling message was written. "You know who I am. Why are you silent?" Sometimes, the most terrifying crimes aren't solved through investigations, but because of chance discoveries. A suitcase washed ashore, a painting hiding a photograph, a locked door concealing the truth. But how many crimes still remain unsolved? And how many secrets will stay buried until someone stumbles upon them by accident?